meeting, June 9th, 2020. As a preliminary matter, I want to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond that you're there. Ann McFate.
Yes.
Library Director, Dimitri Karakis.
Yes.
Assistant Director, Jeff Arnold, our
Sure.
reference librarian who is taking minutes. I am here. Anna Geraldo Kerr. Here. Kay Hill.
Here.
Rick Hardy.
Here.
Tom Harkins.
Here.
Rob Pettit.
Here.
Great. And Jake Falcoff.
Here.
And Danielle Tower.
Now we have Danielle Tawa, the archivist, as a participant, and we're looking for Roger McDonald. Roger, are you on? Okay, we're missing Roger. Hopefully he will join us shortly. We may just move to another item first because he was a part of this conversation about website improvements on old business. Anne, could you just we'll skip to the next item until hopefully Roger comes on. Danielle, I hope you don't mind. We're just going to skip over that until, and Rob, yeah. How is the library reopening going, Anne? And can you and Dimitri report on that?
Sure. A week ago yesterday, we started curbside service for people who call in, tell us what they want. We put the books in a bag, check them out to them, put the bag out on a table on the back, I call it now the back porch. And people come and get them, and they're thrilled, and it's going like wildfire. The table was stock full today, and every time someone took something, we put another one in its place. So people are most grateful. About the first day it started, someone posted something on Facebook about how great it was, and within a few hours, it had 165 likes. So.
Wow, that's terrific. Yeah, I know I got a phone call from somebody at the library today. My husband took the call. I'm not even sure who called, but to say that they had something that I had ordered before the library closed, and did I still want it, and that it would be out on the back porch, so to speak, which I guess it was. I haven't even had a chance to ask him whether he was able to pick it up, but I assume so. So that was nice, nice little plus. And how do you think the number of requests and the system are, going to work out? Do you think, I mean, I don't know how much longer we'll end up needing to keep the library itself closed to browsing, but do you think that we'll be able to keep, with this system, be able to keep up with requests?
So far, we're doing very well.
Yeah.
The phone's ringing off the hook. I can see my phone. I can see all 4 lines lighted up almost all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Have the fines started again? Is it time for me to return my books?
No. You can still return your books. There's no fines yet.
No fines yet.
And do you have a number of how many?
Hundreds.
Are you keeping track, or?
They're so busy they can't keep track.
So, okay.
How many patrons or
how many
We'll
items?
know how many books were checked out. We will have that statistic eventually, but not the number of people. And the nice part is we put a box out there, put your grocery bags that you don't want in this box, and we'll use them. And people are filling the box up. So they're getting rid of all the bags that have been piling up in their cellars.
Is that feeling safe?
Sure, we'll quarantine it.
You know what, I should back up here. I meant to read more of my script, and let me just back up and do that, because I can see already we're running into a little bit of a difficulty talking over each other. So this is an open meeting, and the public was invited. It is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth resulting from the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. So this is why I'm reading it now. You have to be able to follow along. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will allow public comment by means of the chat function, as will be explained. For this meeting, we're convening as a Board of Library Trustees by Zoom app as posted on the town website, identifying how the public may join in. This meeting is being recorded, and all participants are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. The public is encouraged to follow along in this meeting using the posted agenda, unless we switch things around, which we have just had to do because of changing the order slightly. These are the ground rules for the meeting. Before we continue with the agenda, I'd like to go over the conduct, ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce, that's me, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. I think that the very casual kind of conversation that we often have had at our meetings not only is difficult for the minute taker, but it's hard to tell what's going on for someone remote. So please, please do mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response to a comment, please wait until I recognize you and yield the floor to you, and please do state your name before speaking. That would be helpful for the record. After members have spoken, if there is anyone who wishes to offer public comment, they can sign into the meeting as an attendee and submit written comment in the via the chat after identifying your name and address. The hosts of the meeting and Assistant Library Director Dimitri Kyriakis will monitor the chat box and alert me to submissions there. The chat
video.
Excuse me?
No, cat video, sorry.
The chat submissions, excuse me, Tom. The chat submissions will be recorded and become part of the official record. Each vote taken at this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. And in case we have a technology failure, I'm now going to ask someone to move that we automatically continue the meeting if there is such a problem to July 14th, 2020 at 7 o'clock with the same Zoom number. Could I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Oh, sorry.
Second?
Second.
Anna seconds. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
So much for my roll call, but I think we have it. Okay, thank you. And let's continue on. Is there, and Dimitri, is there more to say about the curbside pickup and the reopening?
People are most grateful.
It's running pretty smoothly. It's going well. Staff are grateful to be in.
Yes.
Folks grateful to be getting materials. We actually Seem to have a lot of stuff that people want, which is great. I haven't heard a lot about people saying, could you, I mean, there've been a couple where could you get something, but it's at another library and we can't do that for them right now. But, and unless you've heard differently, or Danielle, I haven't really heard we're gay, but yeah, it's going pretty well.
Anne, is there, so there is no sign of interlibrary loan at the moment?
The delivery service is still cleaning out its warehouse. We had our first delivery last Friday. They started with the 20 largest libraries, and we're one of them. And we only got about 20 boxes, but that was great. We've unpacked what we can of them. Some of them are holds, so we were not able to unpack them just yet. We'll hold on to the holds. As soon as they clear out their warehouse of things from March, and you have to remember they deliver for the whole state, then they'll start a regular delivery service like they had before.
I see, but there is no current ability to order interlibrary loans.
No, there isn't.
Okay, but they are just delivering, as I had one delivered. The ones that had backed up were stalled in process somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, okay. All
Can
right.
I ask a question?
Jay, go ahead.
Are there any, are people calling, asking about safety measures relating to the preparing the books for curbside pickup? Are there any policies in place relating to that are being communicated to the public?
Sometimes a person will ask, and we've told them that the books that are going out now have been sitting on the shelves since March. Staff handling them, wearing masks and gloves. The paper bags have been sitting around for a while too. They came in the week before. I ordered them. They came in the next day. And here's Roger.
Hello, hello, Roger.
I was just going
Sorry,
to say,
I'm late.
I was just going to say related to that, should you be making, public the safety measures that you're taking, to put it on the website or whatever to give the public assurances that we're doing all that relating to the curbside pickup?
We can do that.
I think that's a great idea.
Carol? I
Yes,
have a question,
Anna.
may I?
Sure, go ahead, Anna.
So are we only loaning books, no DVDs, no?
Everything.
So you're doing everything, not only books, okay,
Everything.
videos and everything.
All materials,
Right.
anything that's in the building.
Right. Thank you.
I guess I'll just go down the list. Rick, do you have any question, comment?
Just a quick question is that, so there, if I go to my Minuteman app on the phone, it says that there's 3 items on hold, but only one is actually there. And this is since March. So I'm wondering where the other 2 are.
Oh, it's some library somewhere. Now, did you pick your bag up? I saw you had a bag out there.
I haven't picked it up yet. Yeah, it's since March. It says there were 3 items on hold, but only one actually was there.
Oh.
Well, you better take that up with maybe Danielle or some technology person. Yeah.
It will take a while to get everything sorted out.
Yeah. Kay, do you have any question or comment?
I just was wondering if the library staff feels safe at this point, coming in and functioning.
Yes, they do. I haven't had any complaints. When they come in for the first time, they get a lecture on spacing and cleaning up after themselves, and I answer any questions. They get 2 face masks. I have 2 bags of face masks, face coverings, one from the town and one from a lovely group of ladies that made them for us. They're all quite nice. And
We all keep our distance from each other, and
Yeah.
people working together keep their distance in terms of
Oh, we have our
plexiglass.
barriers, our plastic barriers were put up.
Oh, they were good.
So, and they look quite wonderful. They matched the wood on the bottom of them and really did a wonderful job. So at some point in time when we can bring the public back in, there'll be, that's been done.
Where are those, Anne? Where are
They're
they?
on the desks. They're on all the public desks, children's room, reference, and circulation.
I'm trying to picture this. Okay.
You have to see it for yourself.
Yeah. Tom, do you have any question or comment on this? Rob?
Well, I have one question, is that,
Tom, back to Tom.
are donations coming in too, and what are you doing with those? I can't imagine a
Not
donation.
not allowing, friends do not want donations.
No, they don't, but you know, this
One
is the
box.
public, this is the public we're dealing with.
One box came in the first day. I took care of it.
Yeah, okay, good.
All right, Rob?
I guess just a quick question on the health measures. Is there any way to ensure, I know for a lot of places when folks go into work, there's some sort of verification that they haven't had a fever, or is there some sort of self-verification of that?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I have a
great.
sheet of for everyone to fill out every morning. There's a sheet to be filled out that gets sent to HR.
And
Okay.
that would be useful, I think, to include as part of the process that the library is following to give the public comfort about
Yeah,
the safety.
true.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Jane. Yeah. Okay. If there's nothing else on that, let's go back now that Roger has joined us. Hi, how are you?
Oh,
Hi.
sorry I was late.
No, that's all right. We just jumped around a little bit.
Sure, no problem.
We wanted
Okay,
to
sure.
go ahead. Rob, do you want to conduct this part or on the,
Sure. About the website?
well, the website or technology more generally? I wasn't sure if you wanted to do some short thing on later on with under strategic plan, or you would like to just and split this up just to be a website now, or do you have any opinion on that?
I think it probably makes the most sense to stick to the website for now. So just for a quick
Okay.
update, Danielle provided some very useful information for the technology update. One of the things that I'm finding as I'm going along, and we talked about this at the last meeting a couple of weeks ago, one of the things I'm finding is that I do need to reach out to more folks at the library and really have some detailed discussions about what's going on with technology. So I've reached out to Ann and Carol, and I would suggest tabling the full technology update report until the July meeting, because I'd really like to update it in a thoughtful manner and also address some of the technology issues and successes that we've had with the COVID pandemic. I think that the pandemic has really shown how important technology is to the library, how important it is to have an effective functioning website that is easy for patrons to access, how important social media is as a method of getting information out about all the library's offerings and its current status. And I think those are all items that should be considered in the technology report. I guess that kind of leads into the discussion of the website and, you know, making it more accessible, making it more logically organized as a resource for patrons, especially when they can't physically go to the library. Carol, did you want to speak more about that, or?
Well, I think I would like to just, let's see, who is the one who's ought to take the lead in this and just sort of filling us in. I would like Roger to tell us where we are. I think, Kay, you had specific, why don't we ask you as to specific questions you had about functionality.
Yeah, I have been for a while kind of raising the issue of just the library main page, where I think most people land when they want to find out the most basic things about the library and to see recent updates. So, and on the current library main page, there's a couple of problems, as we've stated. One is that it has a photo that's taking up almost all of the real estate. And the other is that the highlights box, the spotlight box, has never been used to put in things that are happening or things we need library patrons to know. So my focus has really just been on that main landing page. How can we make it work for the library?
Well, one thing we can do is when we first transitioned from the previous version to where we are now, we had made a space effectively for the library to generate their own image. Prior in the previous version of the website, the library actually had its own image that had been designed with photos that had been images that had been provided by the library. And so I sent Dimitri an email about this earlier, a week ago or so, I think it's been.
Yeah.
So it's something to talk about, where we can actually collect those. And I spoke with somebody in my office, Terry Wolfson, to also sort of coordinate this, where we can actually gather up, and this is how it usually works with Civic Plus, is we gather up a number of photos, 20 or 30 photos that sort of represent the library. They then go through and kind of put those images together. They may only use like 2 or 3, 4 images at the most to create an image, a banner, as they call it. And we can tell them that we want it to be thinner and not so thick, because some of the other pages, so if you look at some of the other pages, like for example, the DPW or IT or whatever, there's a really sort of a thin banner, which kind of brings up the rest of the page. And we had the same issue on the home page for the entire website, is that the banner itself was a little thick, and so we had them shrink it down. And so we'll be working on getting that to fix that, and that should pull up the rest of the page above the fold, as they say. The issue with the box. Oh, I'm sorry, Anna. Yep.
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay.
We've been just
Sorry.
wanting to talk to you for so long that. No, but go ahead. Go ahead.
So the image with the spotlight, that's actually that's probably more. Again, I've communicated with Dimitri about that, and I've tasked a member of my staff to coordinate with the library, and that's probably more of just a training issue, in that we need to show the library staff that's managing the web pages and that specific spot how they can the information they can put there. And it's very similar in the way that the somebody mentioned that, I think, and I was watching one of the last meetings, and someone mentioned that it is very similar to what's that same spotlight on the town's homepage, the main page, and it allows you to put specific things, as it says, to spotlight certain bits of information that you want to promote, more things above the fold, as we say. So that's kind of the basics. We've also talked, and there's a point of redesigning and functionality. The department itself, the library department, has all the same functionality and all the same ability to move pages, generate pages, create pages, edit pages that any other department has. It's just those few things that are, that we have to deal with the provider. And at one point, and it's something that I'm not totally 100% versed in the Civic Plus website itself. There's others that do. It may actually be possible that we can generate several images, several banners for the library, and actually we may even be able to rotate them out ourselves. And it's just something I have to follow up on with staff as well. So some things have changed in the functionality from moving from the previous version to this version. So those are things that I'm following up on.
Anna, looked like you were ready.
Yes. Yeah, Roger, I'm so glad you mentioned that last portion. Actually, that was my question. And welcome to the meeting. We've been very excited about the transition into the new website. Sometimes a little too, we really put a lot of hope that this new website will really help us connect much more closely to the community. As you know, people are really rely on the library, so we want it to be as perfect or as as available and as possible. So the banner, if we could have a rotation for the banner, that's one of my suggestions. Also, the same thing, a rotation for the spotlight, because the library has been a host for so many community events, and it's about building communities. So we want to showcase that front and center. I would rather, and this is my personal opinion, and I imagine my colleagues here will agree, I'd rather have pictures of people, the staff, the different events we have. We have so many great speakers that we want to showcase. This is what the library is doing. Come join us. Be one of the many faces that you see here. So that happens by having maybe quarterly, maybe we can do this, rotating. And also the question I have though is, do the Civic Plus, are they the ones that pick the images? Can we have input on that? If we send them 20 or whatever many, we want these together, you know, is that something we can do, or do they have to be the ones deciding?
No, what would happen is, what we would do is if you said, like, let's say, for example, you gave me 30 images, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said out of those 30 images, you wanted 4 that you wanted to rotate, we'll just pretend seasonally, whatever we're going to say. And I would tell that to them, we would get a cost or whatever that would be. And then what they do is they sort of help us put those images together to make sure that it's the right resolution, the right width and height and all that. And then they send them back and say, do you like these? And but it's all images that we select. You know, that image that is on the page right now is sort of a stock image that was put there really as sort of a spacer, you know, a holder.
Yeah.
So and so that's how it would work. You guys gather up 30, 40, 50. I think the first time at one point in time, we used to rotate them out ourselves. We did the same thing. At the time, the former police chief, Tom Leary, was big into photography. So he had been collecting all sorts of images himself, and he gave them to us, and we stuck them all together. We grabbed a lot of imagery, and they made 4 seasonal images for us that would get rotated. We would have to call them at the time to rotate them. But I think, like I said before, I think it may change a little bit on that. But yeah, that's what would work. You would give us 30, 40, 50 images, and we would have them put together for however many you want, and then go from there.
Now, I'm not a technical expert here, but in terms of creating a banner, you know, depending on the resolution, there's so many software, Canva, I mean, you name it, you know, people are doing some things themselves. So I wonder if is this something, am I understanding this right? Is this something, every time we need a banner, we have to go to them, or could the staff, because frankly, creating a banner is, I know, you know, kids who create banners. So I'm wondering if it's a good use of their expertise to create banners, or if we can have that transfer to someone, you know, one of our staff.
It's possible. That's why I wanted to follow up on whether or not we have that ability to change the banners ourselves. If we have the ability to change the banners and create the banners ourselves, especially put them in there, then I don't see why it would certainly be possible, you know, to create our own banners and put them up there how we wanted, which, you know, you could change them how you wanted. And that, again, the spotlight is another thing where you can change all that stuff on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis in the spotlight as well. But yeah, it's something to look into.
Is it a WordPress template, or what is the behind the, you don't know?
It's all right now. It's essentially HTML in the back end.
Okay.
You know, that's how we usually work it. They're the ones. Civic Plus is the host, so I'm not really
Got it. Okay.
fully certain about what they're actually using to create the website. I do know that we can, you know, on pages we can generate, and we can put our own HTML on a page if we want to. But the actual back end, I'm not really certain what they're using at this point in time for their design.
So may I?
Yes, go ahead,
I
Kay.
think there's a little lack of clarity in this conversation in that when he speaks of the banner, we're really just talking about a photo. It's the banner photo. It's not anything that needs to be specially created. It's simply a photograph of any kind. And what's right now, that banner photo takes up the entire page and essentially prevents anything else from going in. So just to clarify what we need.
And to follow up, if it's HTML based, you just have to program it differently so that it becomes narrower. Is you know, as far as I know, that is a simple step. There's no, you know, rocket science behind it. So
Yes,
and
I understand.
That,
yep.
yeah. So because that creates creates a dependency on the vendor, you know, for something that is not that difficult. So if we need to engage them, yes, let's engage them for the things that are really difficult, you know, to scale the website and so forth. But these things, we need to figure out a way to, you know, move this along.
Can I ask a
couple? And we can. I'm sorry. We can. I'll look into that, because I just need to make certain that we have that capability internally to do that, and that, you know, that it's not some sort of, administrative permissions, all that, there's all that sort of stuff that's involved. But I'll look into it and see what the process is. Yep.
Can I ask a couple
Jay, yes,
follow-up
Jay.
questions? Hi,
Yeah.
Roger. We've never met. I'm
Hey, Jay.
the newest trustee. How are you? Thank you for
Jay,
coming.
you're welcome.
Just a couple of questions. It seems like you need to make some further inquiries to determine whether the library can, in effect, assume more control over that homepage in terms of the banners and the spotlight. I'm not sure who is that you need to talk to. Someone at Civic Plus or someone within the Needham.
Well, the banner issue, I have to follow up with Civic Plus. The spotlight is just an internal training. The spotlight is managed by the department itself. So, for example, the town manager's office, that spotlight it's a thing that gets turned on and off, and they add things to it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Is that not something that the library can assume responsibility for managing?
Yes. Yep.
It is.
And that's what I've
Yes.
spoken to Dimitri about, and we'll be communicating with them to coordinate staff training on that. Yep.
Got it. And I sort of ask Ann and Dimitri, we have people at the library who you anticipate designating as assuming some responsibility, assuming we can have this control over
We
that.
already have folks on the staff that control different parts and different, the content that goes on there and constantly
Yep.
turn it over. So as Roger said, and Terry Wilson, his colleague that he talked about, has been in touch with us, and we will coordinate that over the next few weeks. But yeah, our staff are already trained on modifying the website and putting up new information. As you've seen, the information, the content is current. So yeah, it's like Roger said, those folks will be getting trained on that.
That's good. Sooner the better. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just have one more question relating to that. In light of the possibility that the library will be closed to the general public for a while longer, with for the most part the emphasis on the curbside and the website, are you retraining current library staff who are going to potentially shift roles? Is that necessary or not necessary?
What sort of roles will be shifting?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm assuming that there are people who were doing some library staff activities when the library was filled with people, and who were checking out books at the front desk. I guess are they just doing the same thing, except now they're putting the books in bags?
That's right. They're still working behind the scenes. They're not dealing face to face with the general public, but they're preparing the bags, taking the holds, pretty much conducting the same activities they were before, except now it's virtual to you and I, somebody who's outside of the library, but within the library, they still go collect the materials, check it out, prepare it, put it in bags. Yes, Anna.
Oh, it was more a question for Roger, but
Okay, sure.
So follow up. So is the website built to be able to host video, or embed video? Not necessarily host it, but to embed video to YouTube or other way.
You can embed. Yep, you can embed video. Yeah, I've done it in the past, and worked with it. There's a couple different ways to do it, but yes, you can embed video into it. Like if you had a YouTube, there's a way to grab that embedded the embedded link from YouTube, and you basically have to do HTML on the back end.
I assume we'd use the HTML widget and just put it directly in there.
Yep. I think actually, Danielle, I think we've done that. We may have done that in the past with the old website for something else. I don't know. I don't know if I did it with you, or I've done it a couple times.
We did it in the past website, but I have played around with it with this current one, and I know it will work. I haven't tried multiple videos, but.
Could you embed video in the spotlight?
That I don't know.
Could you find out if you wouldn't mind?
I could find out. I mean, I have, I'll find out. Yeah.
Just to cover all bases. Thank you.
One of the things that we used to have on the old website, which had many problems, of course, but one of the nice things about it was that we were able to put right at the top a rotation of samples of the artist work that was on exhibit in the library that month. And then it would change, but even each month there would be a rotation of slides of the art of various pieces of artwork by that current artist.
Carol, that is still there.
It's just not at the top though, where people.
No, because quite frankly, there's more important information that needs to go before that, but it is there on the front page.
Yeah, well, the more important information is not that bookcase that we keep looking at. So maybe I wonder if there's a way to put a rotation where the bookcase is of artwork instead. Is that a possibility?
Unfortunately, no. That's what you may be able to do that with the spotlight. I think that the spotlight, you can actually put like that's just another image. It's a widget of some type that moves the image. It's what they used to. It's just moves one image from one to the next. So, and to Gay's point, I think that was Galen, right?
Yes, yeah.
It is available. It is available, but at this point in time, it's on the bottom of the towards the bottom of the page.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I have a question. I've got the website up here now. So the spotlight on my phone. The spotlight here is just a picture of the library, right?
Yeah.
Right now, yes, it is. Yep.
And what is the banner? The blurry bookcase behind?
Yes. Yep. Correct.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. And my other question is concerning the. Recently, I'm a town meeting member as well, as many of us are, and all the YouTube presentations for all the town meeting presentations were on YouTube. How was that done? Was that done? Did you have to go to the provider to do that, or were you able to do with the town manager able to do that within house?
No, they. What happened was the public information officer, Cindy Roy Gonzalez, just she spoke to the person who was going to do it, and they basically used Zoom. They went in Zoom and they recorded it, and then we just uploaded it on the Needham YouTube channel.
So we did that.
That's how it worked.
Now, could we, if the library had something like that we wanted to do, could we?
We actually do have something. We have our own YouTube channel. We've divided between the adult reference services and the children's Needham library channel services. So we actually have a couple things on there on both channels.
And where is it at the?
If this is being recorded,
where is it?
Put that up there as well.
Where is it at the website?
That is
On the library page. Is it someplace there? Or?
Give me a moment. I can try to find it for you.
I'm looking down here. I don't see it. I don't know, maybe
I believe we could link to the channels, or we could link to the individual videos themselves.
okay, but we don't produce any of our own videos.
Well, that would depend on, right now it's a relatively new channel. We just started it with the COVID-19 crisis here. So we have, at least that I know that I've put up, we have 2 videos, one trustees meeting and one presentation. I don't know what Children's has put up, but I've given them access to the channel as well.
Okay, so we don't know where the channel is though, right? We can't find it.
I'm looking at the channel, but I don't know if it's where it's been put on the website at the moment.
Okay, all right.
Children's might have it somewhere on theirs.
We'll find out and let everybody know. Danielle and I.
That's good. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
What else? Does anyone else have a question? Kay?
I have one more thing. Since we have you, Roger, I've been focusing mainly on the main website, sort of desktop, what you see on your computer. But the mobile website, the design is very challenging to find anything on. Is that something that I haven't really checked all the other town mobile versions, but the way ours is, there's just you have to go down and down and down and down until you come to anything useful. Is that something that we could also begin to look at? Is helping the design of the mobile version, because most people are mobile now. So
No, yeah, the mobile, as you see it right there, that's the way that it comes from Civic Plus, and that's just the way that they design it to come through. It's just sort of their standard. They do have an app. I'd have to go back through and see what it is, because I have seen some notifications come through about the mobile piece, and about some new mobile app that they may have. But I can look into that as well. They used to have they did have a mobile app for a while, and it was really kind of cheesy. It really wasn't very good. And so the way that they and even that was sort of them going to this new version that they have, was they considered it to be more mobile friendly, in that compared to what it used to be, it's a lot better than what it used to be when you just logged on to when you went to the URL on your phone. That was even better than the app, but this is better than what it was. But I can find out if there's an actual app. No one's even really asked about that yet, so I'll find out.
Thank
And
you. Yeah.
this is Rob Pettit. Just a quick question on the website. I think that the sort of menus above that image generally work pretty well. Sometimes in some browsers, the text is really, really tiny. Other times in other browsers, it's fine. But further down on the landing page, there is this blue box with what I think are meant to be quick links. There's no header above that. So the first time I saw that, I was kind of scratching my head and just thinking, what are these? How do these relate to the rest of the page? Would it be possible to put some sort of header above that that just says quick links or whatever those are, or is that kind of hard coded into the Civic Plus system?
I'll have to see what. Yeah, I'll have to see what those are. Well, they are quick links, and I'll have to see if there's a way to put a title on those.
When you click View All,
Yeah.
it takes you to a page that has a title called Library Miscellaneous. It's not that catchy, but whatever title you would adopt would, I suppose, be the same title that you would see when you go to that page when you say View All.
Right. And a lot of those titles of things have been around for years, or they got changed occasionally, because that's what the quick link was called when it's created in the back end in the category. It's just library miscellaneous quick links and things like that. So that's where that is. So I'll look and see if there's a way to put a quick title on that.
Cool.
Who else? Anyone have a comment or a question for Roger or Danielle? Go ahead, Kay.
Just who do we think at the library, in terms of dealing with the very prominent spotlight box that should be changed to have useful information on a regular basis, who might begin to do that once they get trained at the library?
Probably Danielle or Gay.
Yeah, depending on what we're going to put there, I can definitely do it. I would say that reference would probably also have a hand in it if we wanted to feature databases. If children's wanted to feature something as well.
Okay.
And sorry, Anna.
So perhaps we could create like an editorial calendar, right, of sorts, so that people rotate, so that each section, depending on, if we want to showcase an artist or something, so that we can have a general schedule. This is what we're going to put on the front page. It will be helpful to know ahead of time, so we can also bring some attention from the community.
So you
To
want
announce.
programs?
Excuse me, Anna, to clarify, to announce what will be coming up?
Yeah, we can, whatever is a book club or a talk or somebody, or even if we are still with, with the COVID precautions, the children's group is doing so much on Facebook. So at least just to keep some things, so that so the front page is fresh. It's not the typical, we're going to switch books for other things more exciting. But if we keep it static, what's the point? We need to keep engaging folks. So an editorial calendar, maybe monthly, two pictures, just change monthly. I don't know if that would be too much to ask.
Can I ask, did you call that an editorial calendar or?
Yeah, it's like when you plan by month, what is the content on your website? So whether it's a post, whether it's a picture, whether it's So you plan it. So whether it's, Martin Luther King, so January, so, we can highlight that,
It could be several things
spring, this
at
and
once.
that, right? Excuse me?
It could be several things at once.
Right, it could be. So we could maybe do it weekly. I don't know. It's something that at least it will help organize the content management. It's not heavy log posting, it's pictures, but at least you will have a way to track it. So you're not just randomly doing it and just at random, but it's more thought out.
Can I make a suggestion? Because we've got Roger here, and I'm sure we can certainly talk about all that.
I'll be happy to
Yeah.
help in, weigh in.
Sorry, one more thing, and I hate to do this because whenever something gets designed by committee, that can always be challenging. But just as one discrete thing in the website that I think could really kind of help people out, below, we've got the curbside pickup information, sort of the things that are below that main picture. And then below that, there's a little box for catalog search. And right now it's kind of a light gray. To be honest, the first dozen or so times I visited the website, I didn't even notice that between the other items. Again, I don't know if this is hard coded in or not, but for the catalog search, if there's a way to make that box a brighter color or the font bold or anything like that, that really might help to make that more prominent, because I'm guessing for a lot of folks, that's what they're looking for when they go to the library webpage. They're looking to do a catalog search
As
right
far
away.
as I know, I believe that's hard coded from Minuteman, but I can bring it up with systems and see if there's something they can do with that.
Okay. Thanks.
Gee, I just used it and it works.
Another, I'm sorry, am I on? I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute. Another thing we could look into is, the possibility of even adding additional icons, with like the museum passes, things like that. It may be an additional jump. So if it just says, say, catalog, that may be the jump that takes you to the actual Minuteman library catalog, as opposed to embedding it in the page. So those are the things we can look at for updating. Because then, like you said, it'll bring that right to the top. It won't be embedded in that web page, but hopefully with that click, it'll jump you to where the catalog the catalog web page is.
So the thing is, it's one more step, but at least it's clear where you're, if you
Yes.
intend to look in the catalog, right what to click on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing with a lot of websites that are bringing information into one location. They're not necessarily, it's like advertisements essentially. They don't create the web page that it goes to. They just give you the access to it. And even though it might take that one additional click, at least it's obvious what it is that you're going to, as opposed to sort of embedded down in the page somewhere.
Yeah, I think the problem with our old website was it took so many clicks to get, always to get to whatever you wanted. It didn't really matter which thing, that it was just frustrating and time consuming. I think this one is better on that score, but, then we'd be going, I suppose, the other direction by adding another layer.
It is a challenge. It's something that, over time, we've discussed, we've been with Civic Plus 10 years now or something like that. And even their recommendations on how web pages have changed over time. It used to be that you never wanted anyone to have to scroll. So you tried to put as much information as you could above the fold. And now it's like, we asked them that and they're like, no, but people scroll now. They know that there's more information down the page. So it's always a challenge to make everything only 1 or 2 clicks, because we want to get so much information out there to everybody in the design of our pages. And, sometimes you just can't get all that information in 1 or 2 clicks. So it can be a challenge if you have a website or a business that's sort of content heavy. It can be quite a challenge. So
I have a question, if I can, just one other question.
Go ahead, Jay.
And this is really, for Ann and Dimitri and Danielle, the folks at the library. Have you guys looked at the websites of various other libraries to see what they're doing, how they compare, what ideas we might, take from them, just for purposes of, getting the best information as far as, what would be, you would be interested in doing? I'm just wondering if you've done informally, at least, that sort of investigation to compare what our our library website looks like compared to Wellesley, Newton, you know, name the town.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. Okay.
I know trustees have done that in the past, and we've, you know, noticed how where we were lacking. We saw all sorts of neat things on this or that or the other town's library website when we didn't have our own library website. We're part of the town, and they may have had their own entire website. But I think, you know, we're kind of, you know, we're going to work with what we have here. So I think you're right, Jay. We might find some ideas that we could implement even within this platform that we now have through the town website. And I think we should. I think that's a good idea to go back and, you know, reconsider some of that. So is there anything else, Anne?
I just want to say that I'm not one of the scrollers in the world, so I just started scrolling, and even on the front page, the artwork of Nancy Walton is right on that front page.
That's what
Yeah,
Rod said, yeah.
it's just, it's all way down. You have to move, you
Well,
know.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, it always struck me as a lovely thing when you know, you opened the page and there was this
There it
rotation,
was, right.
you know, above the fold. Yeah. Okay. Anything else for Danielle or Roger, or while we're lucky enough to have you with us? I guess that, then I think we'll move on to the next item.
One thing, Anna has her.
Anna.
Oh, I can't see you, Anna. Excuse me.
I'm
Yeah.
here. Just
got-
Danielle, I don't know if you're going to stay for the duration, but I have a question. So there are about 40 Facebook Live, or I don't know if they're Facebook Live or are they recorded events from Children's. Are those do you know how those were recorded? Were they through Zoom or through what means? Because I'm wondering if we can populate the YouTube channel with those videos.
That's something we'd have to talk with Children's about to
Okay.
see how that was done. If it's an MP4 that I can upload to Children's,
Right.
then I can absolutely do it, but it really depends on whether they actually used Facebook Live, in which case it's already on Facebook, so there's not much we can do with that.
So I'm wondering if going forward, it could be recorded on Zoom so that you can use the MP4s to populate the YouTube channel, because not everybody has Facebook. And if you really want to reach a broader audience, you may want to go through populating the YouTube channel that you already have set up. So I don't know, do we need to talk to Paula about that, Anne, or?
Anna, may I answer that, please?
Sure.
A lot of it will depend upon whether the entertainer gives us the rights to be able to put that out on a YouTube channel.
Oh, I was thinking of
a lot of this is proprietary stuff that they have given us that we can put a one-time posting, and they are the ones who are controlling what is out there. We have a performer coming up later on this summer who has given us permission for 1 week to post onto the YouTube channel his presentation, but after that 1 week it must come down.
I was thinking of the librarians that are doing their little show and tells and different experiments.
Okay, that we can ask them, but they are their own performers, and it is up to them to give us permission to be able to put something like that up.
Even the librarians?
The one who's been doing the arts and crafts also works for other libraries.
Mm-hmm.
And she graciously allowed us to be able to show that on our Facebook page, that she had this out there. We need to ask her permission before we put something like that up.
Well, I would encourage you to do that, because there is such great material and we are missing an opportunity to capitalize on that and not have to redo this again. Otherwise, the YouTube channel is going to look very slim.
Children's does have all of the information for that YouTube channel, so they do have the capability to upload any material that they do have.
You may want to coordinate also with the Friends, which has started to, you know, film some of the guest speakers, and would have those programs potentially also available for a YouTube channel.
If there's permitted, you know, if
there's permitted, but
it's given, yeah.
But for example, the recent lectures that Eric Jackson on jazz made were filmed for the Needham channel, and I understand that those would be available if that was interested. And I think the plans for going forward would be potentially to to get those sorts of permissions.
Right at the outset. Yeah.
In Zoom, you can record to the cloud or record to your
Yep.
local desktop at the
Right.
same time that you're recording to YouTube or Facebook Live,
Yep.
but both at the same time. So if they wanted to do something, if they were in a situation like that, they could.
So that's a good point that we should perhaps scale and explore that with different programs that we are being put on at the library, whether they're sponsored by, the Friends, the foundation, or the trustees, for instance, whether we want to get permission to film these things and to get their permission to put them on our website. Before they even are, as part of the hiring of them to do their presentations at the library live.
And one last thing, if I may, Carol. Danielle, when could we hear back about the YouTube channel being in the website? Is that something that we can follow up with you?
Where to reach it?
Yeah, because apparently it's not there. It's not on the website.
I can definitely talk with Children's and reach out to the different departments and see where it is, or where we can put it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, if you would do that, Danielle, that would be great. Okay, well, thank you.
Right.
Roger, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh,
have-
thank you. So my apologies for being late, but
No
thank you very
problem.
much for inviting me.
Well, thank you for, it really was a big help to have you.
Thank
Good
you very
night.
much. Have a
Yeah.
good night.
Yeah, good night.
Bye.
Okay, I'm just going to backtrack for a second, Jeff. You're taking minutes again, and we last met so recently that I understand there are no minutes to go over. There were no minutes.
That's my fault, not Jeff's. Jeff has
Oh.
given them to me. I haven't checked them over yet.
Well, it's a process to get those ready, and then they have to go to Kay after
Right.
you. So that's fine. It's no problem. We can review the 2 sets of minutes in July. No problem at all there, and we'll do that.
Yep.
We'll table that. So the next item is the strategic plan item in old business. We're not going to discuss the technology. We're postponing the full report of Rob's until next month. So that is tabled, but there is the issue regarding our reaction to the George Floyd killing. And I do feel that Anna's point that she brought up to me this week, that, we definitely should be reacting to this. And of course we should, absolutely. And so with her input to start out, we've prepared a statement, and I sent that around. Then Anne gave me a couple of changes, which I sent out to all of you. I understand, Jay, that I saw a message that you had made yet another small change, but I couldn't spot what it was. So I need you to just explain if we go ahead with that. Could you put, Galen, could you put up whatever the screen share function is so that we can see the language? And I want Anna to also give her input here.
Thank you, Carol.
That's good.
Yeah, everybody can see it?
Yes.
Yes,
Let me just,
all but the bottom. I don't know.
Here you
Either I
go.
don't. Yes, okay, Anna.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out here. So thank you, Carol. Everybody is aware of what's been going on in the country. We started with a pandemic, and then we continued when we didn't think things would be getting worse. Then we started to see ongoing escalation of different acts of violence against Black Americans. And also Black Americans are one of the populations that have been flagged as being the worst hit by COVID-19. So all this has sparked all these protest vigils, as you know, probably very well aware. And you know, that sparked a thought in me that we, as our mission is to build community and to engage in an inclusive environment, create an inclusive environment for our patrons, that we needed to take a stand and make it very clear. So that brought me to talking to Carol, and also I want to thank Rick for helping me figure this out. And I wanted to bring it to you to see what do you think? What are your thoughts? And one thing I would like to say for the record is that the statement is only the first step. The important thing to remember is that we need to follow our statement with actions, which may mean that we may have to bring some, develop some actions to follow up on our statement and our commitment. This is not going to be a situation where we're just holding a sign or writing a statement. Our commitment needs to be supported by actions, long-term actions that will impact our community and those who visit our town. That's it.
Thank you, Anna. I'm with you on that. And I think that it's all very nice to make a statement, but we, as the library, do have, you know, clearly a very specific role that we can play if we, you know, if we really implement what we say we have as our mission, our vision, and our strategic goals that were identified, not just by us, but by very substantial community input in the formation of the strategic plan, which covers the years fiscal 17 through fiscal 21. We'll be doing this again shortly. But for now, we have every reason to take steps to make things better in terms of collection, to make things better in terms of programs, to make things better in terms of training of staff. And so those are the things that the specific steps that are mentioned in our statement. And as Anna says, you have to follow through. And that'll be a matter mostly for staff to implement. Is there anyone who would like to, or Jay, first of all, would you mind just telling everyone what it is that your change that you were suggesting, because I did not get it.
Sure, I sent you a marked copy. It's very, very small.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. Yeah.
The paragraph that starts that the library will redouble its efforts. Do you see that?
Yes. Yes.
And to implement its stated mission and vision statement and strategic goals.
Yes.
I would put a comma and then say including by taking these specific steps.
I see.
So I would say, you know, a comma after goals, and then I would put in the word including, because we don't want to suggest that all we're doing is taking just these steps. We have a larger responsibility here, but for now, these are 3 specific steps that we're taking.
Well, that strikes me as a good change.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments? Kay, do you have any? You wrote to me that you were in general in favor of this. Is this?
Yes, I very much appreciate and affirm the plan to do come up with a statement, and I really like the fact that there were specific action points here, and I thank all of you who worked on this, and I'm very pleased that we're doing this. And you know, and it's a bold statement too, because the phrase systemic racism is currently one that is drawing some fire and some controversy, and we're making it clear that we feel that it is an issue and we want to acknowledge it and take appropriate steps. So thank you.
And can I just add one more thing? While the statement alone is not enough, and I agree with Anna, you know, action is required. If we are going to make a statement, maybe that's something that would find a home for a while in that spotlight section, you know, at the top of the page right now.
Yeah, good thought. And also a few other places on Facebook. And Anna was pointing out that this ought to be made as public as possible. That that this is the position that we're taking, assuming we pass this. Rob, do you have any?
I like the statement, and I completely agree with it and am behind it. What really interests me is these steps that are listed here and other steps as well. You know, I think it'd be interesting if somehow there could be a spotlight on relevant books and other materials, whether that's when the library opens up or if there's a way to put a spotlight on some relevant materials that people can take out by making a social media post. I hope that we can take some more concrete steps to address the issue and to get people more curious about the history behind it. And that really ties into our role as a library.
Yep, that's a good idea, good thought.
Carol?
Yes.
There is a list. There is a list that Anne shared with me a while ago that we had for social justice topics that we were circulated. Actually, we circulated 2 years in a row during the Martin Luther King event. So
yes, I think that was part of the package that we set up on the table, wasn't it?
Right.
Copies of this list.
So I have that actually available, and I think that if anything, if we could do two things, either update the list to include some new books that are now becoming popular, or we can just make another page, because just add another page to the list. So, but we already have it. I mean, it's really nicely formatted. It's just more of curating and seeing, what books do we need to include or remove, or rotate. So that is there. And that could be something that we can immediately upload to the website.
That's right. Yeah, it's ready. Very close to ready. And you can, obviously you can put it up there and then amend it, revise, keep it up to date. Even if you do that as you go along. Let's see, Tom.
My comments, I liked it very much. My comments is that I like the fact that, redouble or continue our things, because I'd have to, think that we have done a pretty good job. And most recently, we've always participated in the Diversity Summit. We've also, for the last few years, we've also had the Diversity Book Club that we've co-sponsored. And also, most recently, I saw something today about encouraging a new book, a book that was to be available. And also, I saw that in the children's, bundle groups, you can get a bundle in the picture books under the topic anti-racism. So I thought that was, that last two items are very current. So I think I'd like to think that we are meeting our responsibility that way.
I was going to say, is it correct that some of the staff has had sort of sensitivity training?
Yes, it is.
I thought that was, excuse me?
We've all had it. The town has sponsored this many times, and it was required that everyone attend.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that staff does change, so you have to keep going and refreshing that training, but also, training new people to make sure that they have the same, are put on the same, wavelength as everyone else, hopefully. Yes, Anna.
And I would argue also, even if people have had training, that the current times are demanding that we review and revisit the training, because everybody's coming in with a different context. Now with all the video footage of everything that we've seen, our emotions are really heightened, and we are feeling very vulnerable, all of us. The ones who are being oppressed and the ones who are witnessing the oppression. So it is important, in my opinion, to revisit that training with this new lens. We are all, and the pandemic also has heightened a lot of fear in people. So how are those fears also being channeled to this issue? So there's a lot of, context matters. So I would see there, maybe we can brainstorm down the road on what resources we may have here in town. Maybe reach out to the diversity initiative. Maybe they can provide some kind of conversation for the trustees, for the staff. You know, we just need to brainstorm of ideas. But I would say that we need to revisit, even if people have been trained, we need to revisit because of the new context around the issue.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought. Rick, I think I didn't give you a turn.
And just to follow up, to thank Anna for taking this initiative, and hopefully that we do adopt this. But also in terms of those next steps, again, following up what Anna says, you know, we all have our implicit biases. We don't know what we don't know. And as one of the steps I would suggest in terms of, also in terms of leadership, that we as a trustee board actually go through some training.
Yeah.
And that same training is something that is given to the staff. But I think we need to know what we don't know. So I would recommend as a next step as a commitment that we're showing in this written statement, that we show our commitment by perhaps doing something like that.
One of the steps specifically refers to the training for the library trustees.
Yeah, it does. And I think we're probably the only ones who've not had it among staff. But as Anna says, things do change, and you need to keep looking at this. Not to belabor this, it's an important thing, and I'm so glad that Anna, that you pushed this up to the front. I've admittedly been rather distracted lately. Would anyone want to make a motion, I guess, based on the draft that I sent out, which is on your screen as I tinkered with it after Anne gave me a couple of or three word suggestions, and after Jay's suggestion to add in the fourth to the end paragraph, add a comma after goals, and then the word including by taking these specific steps. Would anyone like to make that motion?
Yeah, I would move to adopt the amended statement, and that we adopt it and then we publish it and make it widely available to the town.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, that was Rob. And now I'm just going to take a vote. All in favor? Rick?
Aye.
Kay?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Rob? I guess.
Aye.
And Jay?
Aye.
And Carol? Aye. Unanimous approval of this motion. Thank you very much.
Carol, I have a question.
Yes, of course.
When will this be posted on the website or disseminated?
Well, I'm probably the last person that I should answer that question.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm not directing the question to you, but I'm. So
yes.
I guess
we need to make a plan for that. Yeah.
Once it's put out, and if the library would have posted on Facebook, then I could repost it to the Needham Facebook group.
And should it be on library stationery, right?
I guess it probably should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or library, or do we have our own as trustees? I don't know. I think probably it needs to be clear that it's the trustees or the policy making board.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Well, it says right on the top, proposed library trustees. Well, that probably will go a little.
But I wouldn't use just a Word document. I think we need to make it formal. I don't know if we have can we use the stationery for the library for this, or?
I don't see any reason why not.
Okay.
Yeah, we're speaking for the library. Yeah.
Okay, so if you do have a PDF or a JPEG, Gay Ellen, so that we can disseminate this,
This is library stationery.
right? Yeah.
Okay, and then it needs the header, to be fixed up.
Right. So yeah. So we're talking about maybe the next couple of days at the latest.
We'll certainly try.
Yeah.
And PDF and JPEG, right? So that we can post in social media and so forth.
And as another suggestion, maybe contact Ms. Gonzalez
Yes,
concerning it
Good
as
idea.
well.
Yep, good idea.
Do we
very
need,
good idea. And it
do-
needs to be dated.
Yeah.
It needs to be dated, which it is not, of course, on the
And
proposal.
I think it's suggested that all trustees should be listed, not just trustees. All the trustees should be listed.
yep,
Yeah.
that's it. Yep, that's the other thing. Okay,
How do you
great.
think that should be at the bottom?
Yes.
Yeah, in lieu
Adopted.
of the signature.
So unanimously adopted such and such a date, today's date,
Mhm.
and all of our, each of us, comma, trustee or chair trustees or secretary trustees.
The select board did something similar to this a little while
There's
ago.
actually, I have, I did look to them, of course, because you can see that I borrowed some language to say we were in solidarity with their statement, with that particular part of it. Theirs, it wasn't exactly clear when they had adopted it. It was clear when it was posted, but it wasn't clear the date of
I
their.
believe it was last Wednesday.
Yeah,
But
it
wasn't
was
stated on it.
circulated.
Yeah. It
Circulated
didn't
last
state
week.
it on it. It would be better to state what date was adopted, unanimously adopted. Yeah. Okay, anything else on the strategic plan or this particular aspect? Then let's move on. Trustee bylaws. Since we last met, a very nice thing has happened, which is that Kay has decided she would actually enjoy chairing the art committee. I have done it for, I think, about 6 years now, and that is 2 3-year terms, even though we haven't exactly been counting, admittedly. These meetings, the art committee is now subject to the open meeting law, where we've recognized that it is and are abiding by it. But I was a bit leery of having a rotating chair of the art committee, just because I think it takes a year just to kind of get used to who the exhibitors have been in the past and to tune into it. And I think having a 3-year term, as is described in the art exhibits policy in our policies book, is probably a good idea to keep rather than having it go with being secretary. In this case, it will go with being secretary because Kay is secretary, our elected secretary this year. But it doesn't need to stay as a sort of a co-position with secretary. At least that's my view. I wondered if anyone else had an opinion on that. Tom, you've been chair of the art committee. You were for quite a while.
I did.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you get stale, so that's the time. It's good. You shouldn't go on forever doing these things. But do you think it's a good idea to have it be more than the 1 year?
It probably, because you need to get get the lay of the land.
Yeah, you get your feet wet in it, and so I am looking for a motion to nominate and elect Kay as new chair of the art committee.
So moved.
Second,
And that was Anna, I think, and
yes,
to elect Kay, I will go down the list. All in favor? I am in favor. Anna?
aye.
Kay, you're accepting, I take it? That's an aye. Rick?
Yeah, that's an aye. And I just want to thank Carol for doing a great job. And then Tom before Carol in both the art committee.
Yeah, thank you. Tom?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And Jay?
Aye.
And I don't know if I heard you, Kay, but I take it you're in favor of this. You will accept. Yeah, thank you. So unanimous election of Kay. Thank you very much.
I would like to say that given our just discussion we just finished, I will would like to make sure that we turn attention very quickly on the art committee to getting in some minority artists, people of color, and get some great art on the wall.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah, thank you.
I have an update on that down later on. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Okay, so on the bylaws, we have the problem that we were not, we nowhere addressed the ability of the chair to cancel or reschedule a meeting, whether there was a public emergency or perhaps simply because we knew in advance there would not be a quorum, and not go through the motion, so reschedule instead. And so some language is proposed in the top half of this sheet that was circulated. Does anybody have any discussion, changes, or is everybody okay with this new language that's been proposed?
This is Rob. I thought that language was good, and it maintains enough flexibility that it doesn't really lock us into a set procedure in extraordinary circumstances.
Okay, all right. Let's see, who else is, anybody jumping up and down, raising their hand? No?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion then to adopt these proposed bylaw changes regarding canceling and rescheduling meetings? To adopt this language that has been proposed.
I would move to adopt.
Second?
Seconded.
Second.
Okay, I think that was Rob.
Yep.
All in favor. Let's go down the list. I'm on the non-trustees here. Jay?
Aye. Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Who else? Ray? Rick, excuse me?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Who else? Anna, please.
Aye.
And Kay?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Did I catch everybody? Okay, I think so. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Let's go on to the second.
Just let me insert one little piece of information.
Yes.
Any bylaw change has to be run by the town's lawyer at some point. So I will take care of that.
Okay, that's good. That's a good point. And we can always go back, it won't be effective until it is approved by town council. I think that's the way it works, is it? Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's what we've done. The bottom section of the sheet really has to do with the fact that the secretary has not, first we did not have a trustee secretary until recently. In the last 2 years we have had, we recognized the requirement that really we need to have one by law, and but that position was not in rotation. And so it wasn't a one-year position. It was sort of by agreement who was willing to take notes that year and review, not take notes, but review the minutes as written up and accept them so that they can be presented to the meeting. And I think it's probably a good idea to have a rotation of this. So it just, this language simply adds in sort of and secretary to where it was just chair and vice chair listed, and then does put the secretary position in rotation so that the person who would become vice chair the next year would be secretary this year. So that is the point of this. Are there any, is there any discussion?
In practice, the minutes, the duty of the secretary, that has always been designated, and then the secretary signs off on it. Is that correct?
You're saying the actual taking of minutes during the meeting has been done by staff?
Like Jeff is taking the minutes now.
Yeah, Jenna has taken them. Yeah.
And other times, and then we'll And then it'll be under, who's the new secretary?
Okay,
Hey,
Okay, Kay is the new secretary, it'll be under her name, and then she'll approve it, you know.
That's
So
right.
Because you have to sign it, you know.
at what point does it come to me for approval?
Soon, right?
it comes, for Jeff sends it to me, I look it over, and then I send it to you.
Okay, and that's all happens just before, sometimes immediately preceding next.
It can happen right after a meeting. It can happen right before a meeting. Depends on circumstances.
but the minutes go out typically in the packet.
Yes, they
So
do.
so they typically are available.
Before the packet, yeah.
And need to be already approved by the secretary before they go into the packet. So
Sure.
that backs it up by about a week, probably, I would say. Is that about right?
Yes.
When the secretary would at least have a crack at it? Yeah. Okay.
Depending upon vacations and
Yeah.
work schedule and stuff like that.
Okay. And do I have, if there's no other discussion, can I have a motion to adopt this language, this proposed bylaw change?
Move to adopt language.
Subject to town council approval? Was that you?
Didn't we already do that?
Kay, so moved. Excuse me. Tom, I'm sorry, everybody's talking at once. Say
I
that
thought we
again.
I thought we just did that.
You did one part of it, and now we're doing another part of it.
The portion of,
There were more changes than just one change.
All right.
there were changes related to being able to cancel a meeting. These are changes that have to do with putting the secretary in rotation.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Never mind.
So this motion that Kay is putting forward, I take it is to adopt the portion to do with putting the secretary in rotation. And our approval would be subject to approval by town council. So do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Anna. So all in favor, I'm going to go around. Anna,
Aye.
Kay,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Jay,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Let us move ahead. And you can just, I guess you don't really have that much control over this, how soon town council will look at anything that we ask, but
That is very true.
if you would, if you would move that along, that would be great, and let us know. Okay, we have several policies to go over, and I don't think we'll probably get to all of them. So I would like, with everyone's permission, to focus on a couple of things. One is the collection development policy, because that's been kind of lingering a while. And I would like to turn to that first. Where this stood, as I recall, is that there was just a bit of language being added to the body of the policy, which is section 5 of our policies. Just in section 10, adding that the library recognizes its obligation to provide as wide a spectrum of materials as possible, and then selection, adding the words, is guided by the selection goals and guidelines of this policy. And then goes on to say, as it was, cannot be restricted by the possibility that certain materials might be considered objectionable. And it would also add a section 11, Roman, request to add materials, so that it wouldn't just be an objection, there could be a request to add materials that the library had not chosen to add. And then after that, there are forms that would be for requesting or objecting. Are there any comments on any of this, the revisions that have been proposed here, either the policy body itself, language, or the forms of the citizen requests to add or reconsider.
My only comment is my question from last time about would these be able to be submitted online?
We can
Under
put
the
them on
form.
the website.
Huh?
Excuse me.
We can put them on the website.
And then they can be submitted online then,
Right,
not just run off and mailed in.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work on our website.
Well,
Danielle,
we'll find
and Danielle, is that?
I'd have to see the way the form is, but we do have a specific, we have specific guidelines with Civic Plus as to how we can create and submit forms. So we can do that.
So they can be fillable forms and submitted, just press the button kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Go to the library. Well, then I think that's a good idea.
Question is also is these same submittable forms similar to the ones that were done by the art committee applications? Those are available online to be submitted, correct?
I don't believe they are available to be submitted directly. I think you have to print those out and send them in. I think that might be a good improvement.
I thought that had been done. No.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No, they have not, but it's more a case of when the submission occurs, we usually get it accompanied by photos or some other thing. And I don't know if we have capability of having that be submitted as part of a online form.
We do not.
Although sometimes it's a link, so that actually might work if someone had just had a link to their artwork. You know, for some applicants it might work, for others it just might not. So if it didn't work, they could certainly apply, but then they would have to still send something in separately, some kind of hard copy. Okay, well, is there any other comment on collection development changes?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
The forms themselves are already on the website, but not the ability to fill them in.
Right, right. So they need to be, I don't know what they need to be made, able to be filled.
We'll find out.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I have a comment.
Yes, Anna.
I'm putting myself through the process of requesting, or, you know, for either way, adding or deleting or removing something. How does the patron know that if we are going to do the online form, could the form have an ability like Google Forms does, that, you know, send a copy to yourself so they keep a record, right? Otherwise the form disappears into limbo. I send it, I submit it, and then I don't have a record of what I submitted. So that's something that will include so they include their email, and that sends a copy. This is what you just requested from the library, you know, keep free records. That's one. And two is, how am I going to be notified when the library actually does fulfills my request? So if it's adding a book, it's like, oh, remember you asked for this a month ago, this is here now available. Or we remove the book as your, you know, or we are considering your request to remove a book, some kind of follow-up. Is there such a thing?
Already when people request books, they are asking through the reserve system mostly, they do get notified.
No, this is to add materials.
Right.
I'm looking at the
book, add materials is the same thing.
Okay.
Well, to add to your library.
Yeah.
Not necessarily borrow from some other library, but to add to the.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we get requests to add to the library.
And you follow up with them.
Sure.
Okay. So,
Absolutely. I get them for people who want a nonfiction book added to the collection. If I could do it for them, I follow up with them. I'll say, I buy the nonfiction. If it's not $400, sure, I could probably do it, you know. But yeah, we follow up with them.
so
Do they actually get notified when the thing is purchased so that they know they can
Whoever handles the collection, like I do the nonfiction,
Yeah.
I get in touch with them and say, I'm buying this book. Do you want me to put it on hold for you? We are buying it, or it's going to be, or if I consult with Steph, if it's a ref book or something more expensive. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good.
I get in touch with them, or whoever is handling whatever part of the collection it is. Yeah.
Okay, so the only thing then is for the online form to have the ability to give a copy to for their records.
I will have to check with Roger and Civic Plus to see if that's possible.
Okay, it's a very common feature in most online forms, so hopefully I don't expect any issues with that.
Okay, well, that's probably the case then, Anna. But maybe Danielle, you could follow up and let everyone know, whether that's going to be possible.
Yep, I'll look into it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always been able through Minuteman to request a book, right? I have to say it's, maybe it's just me, but I have found it less than intuitive, that particular situation, but it is able to do it. There's a request there. If you're searching for a book and can't find it, you can request it. After
I
going
see.
through,
If it's not
after
in
going
the-
through MassCat and everything else,
Yeah.
Some of the links are not as, as easy as others.
But what you're asking through this collection development form is not to borrow it from some other library. You're asking this library to purchase.
Well, that's a request. That the Minuteman situation was that way too. To purchase as well as borrow.
I see. Okay. I haven't experienced that, but Anne, where are we on this collection development policy? Is this, can we vote on it tonight, or do we need?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Finally.
Not that there aren't still questions about how this will be posted, or the what do you call it, the machine-friendly aspects of the form itself. But do I have a motion to adopt this policy in this form?
So moved.
Thank you, Anna. And second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor? I'm going to go down the list. Anna?
Aye.
Kay?
Yeah. Aye.
Rick?
Mute yourself.
Rick?
Rick is muted.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Rick? Can you unmute? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually use the space key to unmute. So,
Oh.
aye.
Aye. Oh, thank you. Tom?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Jay? Hello, Jay? Are you there?
He's muted.
Aye.
Thank you. And myself, aye. Unanimously adopted. Thank you very much. And we'll look forward to hearing about the implementation of this. Anne and Danielle, thank you.
Okay.
So next, so we did collection development. As far as the cell phone policy, or not a cell phone specific policy, I would like to kind of get that decided as to whether there is to be a separate rule regarding cell phones, or whether there is just a rule regarding conversation or noise in the library that might disturb someone. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of having a separate cell phone policy, as opposed to having a rule that applies to all kinds of distracting noise?
Well, I would suggest that since the cell phone policy and other policies were adapted pre-pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that we're looking at certain things that we don't know what the facility of, the facility is going to look like. And so it was designated areas and things like that, and, spacing between, and all the other things like that. So I think we might be, you might want to wait on that until the new setup is, and because, the cell policy has designated areas, cell phone policy has designated areas, those areas might not exist in the future.
Yeah, or if it's designated quiet areas. I think it's been the Bosworth Room and, certain just very limited areas that were designated as quiet areas as opposed to every place being quiet except where you specifically say not. And I think, Tom, you have a good point. And if we are not to have a separately written cell phone policy and we're going to incorporate our rules in the more general guidelines for using the library, which is another policy we have under review, I think we're not ready to make all the changes anyway. And I'll go on to, I don't know if anyone has agreement, but I'm going to move along also to incorporate some other comments. One is that the separate policy for children, children's room, children in the library policy, I think is, has a lot of overlaps and maybe internal inconsistencies, even though I think it has a lot of good material and I understand and actually sympathize with the staff that needs something to, enforce some sort of respectful situation in the children's room and to keep parents paying attention to what their kids are doing or their caregivers when they're in the library. I think that needs a little bit more review, and I'm happy to look at it some more. I hope others will as well. But I think really we're going to need to think about which things need to be, if there needs to be a separate children's room policy, which things from the more general guidelines ought to be taken out of the general guidelines and put in that children's policy, and which things should not, or should we just have one policy that has all these guidelines in it? And I would be happy if someone else would like to speak to that particular issue. Rick? Can't hear you. Rick?
You're muted, Rick.
Good, thank you.
Hold on. Okay.
I don't want to miss your every word. It's a pearl. I don't want to miss a word of it. So.
No. So I looking at the appropriate patron behavior policy, and I don't personally feel that we need a separate cell phone policy. I think there's a number. It's repeated in a number of points in the appropriate patron behavior policy that outlines what would be acceptable. And I think that the issue of cell phone usage would be is addressed in a number of different ways in the language in the appropriate patron behavior policy. So I don't think we need a separate one for cell phones. But on the other hand, the children's policy obviously dates back to 1993. And obviously it's been an issue in the old library and the new library and so forth. And I think the difference is, the patrons can oftentimes, patrons should be controlling themselves. But when it comes to children, it's the responsibility of parents to control their children. So that's why I think there's a necessary separateness for a children's behavior policy.
So maybe a matter of subtracting, taking some things out of the general and putting it into the specific children's, where actually those things probably already are written. It seemed like there was duplication. As far as including the cell phone, what would apply to cell phones in the general guidelines, I think we still just have the question whether we're doing addition or subtraction, more or less. Are we going to have everything quiet except where we allow a little more noise, or the opposite is is everything allowable except in these certain areas which are quiet? And that we haven't. I don't know that we may have to just vote on it pretty soon. And
I look at it the way it's written in terms of the patron behavior. It's sort of like the elastic cause of the Constitution. It talks about respecting others' rights to privacy, loud conversations, inhibiting other people's usage of the library. A lot of general statements that could be used for a staff member to address an issue that's maybe that they feel it's disruptive.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Jay, go ahead.
Just
Jay.
my question is, are these policies on the website? I don't really see them. I'm not sure where do these policies live.
Yeah, well, they always have been on the
Yeah.
website, but
They
I
are-
couldn't
I'm not-
direct you.
I'm looking. I mean, I'm sure they're there.
Okay, there's the guidelines for using the Needham Free Public Library on the website.
Where is that? I'm on the home page, and I'm looking down at the bottom. I just don't see where it may be in the site map. You have to find it.
How did I find this? About the library. See
There
where
it
it's
is.
about the library, then go over to library policies and mission statement.
Got it.
Yeah.
About
Click on that and there's a list.
These are the policies that are made public, that are more or less external as opposed to purely internal policies.
where is the about the library? Oh, I got it right up top. And then if you go there, you'll find the library policies. That's got it. Fair enough. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I think we need to do some redrafting here, just going through and making sure we're consistent. I think it's really important that whatever policy we put out there is clear enough so that parents or caregivers are on notice of what the expectation is. What is the rule? So you could say you're allowed to do this, but not this. And, you know, they're on notice of that, and that the staff can then point to if that's not being observed. And I think there's nothing worse than having a confusing kind of, even though the words maybe have to be interpreted, as Rick says, I think, you know, you don't want to have a slightly different take in the first paragraph than in the third paragraph. And I think that that's a little bit of what we have here. But that's just a matter of just going through, I think, with a little bit more editing and coming back. And do you have any objection to if we just do that? I don't want to edit things here and in the meeting. I'd be glad to work on that.
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Carol?
Yes, Anna.
I'm curious to find out where, if we should also have a bullet here regarding, you know, the post-COVID behavior about masks. You know, people need to come in with masks. If they don't have a mask, are they going to be allowed in the library? So where does that fit into this?
I think you should have a separate policy for that.
Okay? I was wondering because when we're going to open the library in the fall, I don't know when, but whenever that happens, this is not going to be the scenario that we're discussing.
Would that not be separate though? Would that not come from the Department of Health?
I think it's going to be the town.
The
Yeah.
town,
Okay.
the town would
Okay.
regulate that. Yeah.
Anyway, that's the not the bylaw, but that's the law today. Is that any
Right.
public place
In all town buildings. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I would then add something here that in case of an emergency or something such as I don't know if you want to name pandemic, or then we follow the Department of Health rules, which is the mask and so forth.
I think we could post that on the website. I'm not so sure that needs to be in our policy because it's
Okay.
really not up to us. We are subject to those laws. They are superior to anything we might decide upon
Okay.
ourselves.
I see.
So I'm thinking that is probably not, I think we need to post those things at the entrances,
So,
that will
okay.
have to be,
Oh, right.
made very obvious, but I
Okay.
don't think it's up to us.
Okay, as long as it's covered.
Yeah.
I think it's clearly not up to us, nor up to the library staff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
to make those
Board of Health,
decisions.
for whatever
Those
reason,
decisions are
library.
based upon Board of Health and town criteria, and we have to meet those standards,
But the library staff will be the ones enforcing.
If somebody chooses to walk in and refuses to wear a mask, the library staff will have to call the police.
Yeah.
or call a supervisor or Ann or myself, and then that gets escalated. So
Mhm.
that falls under the other rules of behavior in the sense, like, just as you would, somebody wouldn't walk in with a bottle of wine, open bottle of alcohol in the library. If we noticed that, we'd say you can't do that, then we would have to escalate that. So
And without pants.
with that too, yes, that would be, problematic.
Rick, I think
Need
you
a
were
pants
trying to say
policy.
something, but you were muted. Rick, were you trying to say something to that a moment ago?
I'm not muted. No, I just, as a follow-up, as Tom said, I mean, the Board of Health could close us and we wouldn't have anything to say about it.
Right.
'Cause they run in those situations. So, yeah.
Yeah, their authority really supersedes ours. Okay, let's see. Rob, I haven't heard any. Do you have anything you wanted to add, Kay?
So I just wanted to say I do feel like a separate policy for the children's room makes entirely good sense, because that really is a separate world. And secondly, if we're going to fold the cell phone policy into the appropriate behavior policy, I think I would like to take a good look at exactly what it says with regards to the quiet areas. I think we should preserve quiet, at least in substantial areas of the library. And so, I'd like to take a look at that if we're going to roll the two policies into one.
I'm sorry, I would just mention that there already is a cell phone policy.
Well, that would be eliminated. That
Right,
would be part of it, would be to remove that. And yeah.
And just to kind of throw my 2 cents in, I think it makes sense to roll the cell phone policy into the acceptable behavior policy. I think we've heard from staff in the past that they wanted a greater degree of discretion in enforcing the policy and in terms of how the policy was written, just because, the situations can be a bit fluid. Sometimes it might be acceptable to speak quietly in one part of the library. Other times it may not, without disturbing people. Personally, my preference would be to leave as much discretion as possible with the staff. For the children's room policy, I do think that should be a standalone policy. It makes it a little bit easier. Also, it's a discrete part of the library, so I think it makes sense to have a separate policy. As the father of 2 children who use the library frequently, I read through it. Everything in there looked fine. There was nothing that seemed particularly problematic or unrealistic to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you, because you and Anna have, children that actually are in that category. So it's good to know, that would meet, your standards of behavior. I think we should, can we just get a sense of the meeting here? I don't want to really, we're not drafting here, but can we have a sense of the meeting of how many of us would favor having all, areas quiet except designated areas. And that is opposed to having all areas, able to be, have quiet conversation except certain areas. Which is subtracted? Is it generally okay, but not in these areas to make noise? Or is it?
I'd like to have, just me, I would like to have the areas where it's okay to talk in normal voice, have those areas designated. I think the larger expectation on the part of the public is that the library is generally a quiet spot. I've talked to a lot of people about this over time, and it was really specifically about cell phone use when I asked the question of people, but two people out of about 30 said that they were okay with cell phone talking throughout the library. The rest were very, very strongly worded answers to me about wanting to preserve quiet in the library. So areas that the staff thinks are most appropriate for talking, and that can be, whatever areas they think best. But I personally would like to preserve quiet. Mm-hmm.
Anna?
I agree with Kate, but I have to confess that I'm having a very hard time picturing people with masks trying to speak, So there is an interim step as we go into, so I don't know when this policy will kick in, because it seems like it's going to be several months, maybe the whole year, where we're going to have masks, right? So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on this. How will this play out if we're reconfiguring the layout of the space and so forth? If there are going to be masks involved and so forth, it's just I don't know. It's a little difficult to picture it.
But which way would you
I
favor?
will agree. I will agree with Kate.
With Kay.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick, well, which way do you, oh, Anne, excuse me, Anne, let you interject.
Just remember, whatever policy you pass has to be enforced or enforceable by the staff. And I don't think you're coming up with something that would be easy to enforce. I think if you have quiet areas, you can enforce, but and the rest of the library has a certain noise to it. Now, this is all pre-COVID-19. Post, the tables and chairs might be so far apart, you won't need a policy, but.
So you're saying that it's better to have it all quiet except where noise is allowed, certain specified areas?
I'm saying
The opposite.
It's the opposite.
The opposite, yeah. I
Okay.
would agree with that too.
Absolutely.
So let's get the trustees' opinion on that. Rick, you have said which way?
I think for enforceability, yeah, having designated quiet spaces make the most sense because they can be designated and clearly defined. So it makes it easier for the staff to deal with that. Whereas it's open, then it's going to be a debate with the patron and a staff member. And you're just not going to go down that rat hole. So.
All right, let's keep going. Tom, where do you fall in this?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, we have to play some, key with a new configuration, which might come up. It might make it easier to make quiet areas, and, designated quiet areas. And then it might be easier to enforce that way, at that point of view.
Okay, Rob, did you tell me?
Yeah, I'm in favor of, a certain designated quiet areas, but the general rule just being a low level of background noise, giving the discretion to staff members to enforce it in any area of the library to the extent that people are being disturbed.
True, yeah. And Jay? Jay?
Muted.
Did I lose?
Nope, I'm here, and I'll agree with what Rob just said. That made sense to me.
So I think the weight of opinion in this body is that we will be designating some quiet areas. And I think maybe the best we do is we expand a little bit on the quiet areas. And as everyone seems to be thinking about, the areas may not be set up the same way as they are or have been in the past. So it's hard to be sure. But I assume that the two rooms at the front and then maybe the carrels along the side would be good. Individual carrels might be good areas to designate as quiet areas, and we can incorporate that into the policy. Does that seem realistic for those of you that might be enforcing this?
I say the two rooms in the front, sure.
Yeah, for the quiet
I
and the.
understand Kay's concerns. I know you spoke to people, but the carols, with how they get populated, who's in there, it's again, I know I've used this example dozens of times, and you've heard it from other staff, but you have one person very quietly filling out a form at a study carrel on their phone, and you have a tutor and somebody else at the other study carrel speaking loudly. And if you go to the phone person, they're saying, well, I'm on the phone and I'm quiet, but the other people are not on the phone. That seems like the more general behavioral policy would apply to that, rather than specifically targeting saying you're not supposed to have a phone there. If that's
But we're not talking about cell phones anymore. I think we're just talking about a
Designated.
policy on noise, and whether we have designated quiet areas, and everything else is, where quiet conversations allowed, or we do the reverse, which is all quiet.
I would also add too that, we should ask the adult, the reference staff too, and step once again about that once you decide how you want to designate it to get a sense of like enforceability.
Yeah, I mean, that's important. It's going to be, if it's impossible to enforce, then, it really is unfair to even, put that into the policy.
Just thinking about a pre-COVID world, those study carols, at least the ones in the beginning, are awfully close to those general tables where we get a lot of people studying.
Right, groups.
That noise is just going to bleed.
Yeah.
But people who want to sit and at a study carol and need a place to sit, the two front rooms are not well set up for quiet study at a desk with books piled around you. They're set up with lounge chairs and open tables. The study carrels are the place where individuals want to go to bring their books, sit alone, and or their laptop and work. I think it's very important for those individual study carrels to be quiet.
If you want to strike a compromise, you want to say like the 4 or 5 study carrels in the deepest part of the second floor, because the ones that are right by those large meeting tables, if you see all the high school students that are there in the afternoons.
We also could designate that area as no tutors.
Yeah, I don't think the tutors should be in the individual study carols.
And of course, COVID-19 would agree with you because you can't sit close to a student like they do.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's going to limit tutoring in the library in general.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, one comment I can make is that at last night's town meeting in Article 21, the capital thing, they removed the two of the 3 library expenditures.
Yes.
One was for the space planning, and in the summary of it, it mentioned what the space planning was going to do with quiet areas, with more private little study areas and all that. That's what space planning was going to be, was at least in the town warrant. And how I think is that it's going to be interesting, with the new COVID, things, that maybe that's going to reflect the space planning to a great deal as
yes,
well.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm kind of glad we didn't have to argue that last night.
Well, I think so too. And I think really the timing, we need to get back somewhat to business before, opened up, before, a space planner can really tell us what we could do, or what, whether we can do what we think we need. Yeah, so I think the timing actually was wrong. And I think Anne was just absolutely right to not, be willing to withdraw. I knew you asked me about that. The chairs, I think you've whittled down. The shabbiest ones have been removed in the process of distancing the chairs from each other, and so that sort of naturally postponed the problem, since the worst chairs were removed and are put away. And the space planning, it seems to be not quite the time. Fortunately, we still did get the allocation and the capital plan for computers. And so that will allow us to keep current on what we've been having to rely on so heavily, and to use that money for whatever technology purposes really I think that we need. And maybe those needs will be different than they would have been without the pandemic. But at least we have the luxury now of the money to do what we feel is necessary to provide services in this environment. So, okay, it is after 9 o'clock, but we are not done because we need some a last item. Oh, I didn't go to the steam room, and I think we'll table that if that's all right, given the hour. I see nodded heads. Okay. The trustee comments. just at the time we were supposed to have trustee comments at the last meeting, Tom, you were offline somehow.
Yeah, I lost the
So now
connection last
it's your
time.
moment.
And my comment was going to be, I wanted to thank Rick for the wonderful year he did as chairman.
Yes.
And, we didn't get a chance to do that. And I also wanted to ask him for a ride home.
I was going to
Butter
say,
him up first, huh?
I made a comment when you weren't there saying, did you just arrive back from Key West at the Ernest Hemingway lookalike contest?
Joan, you've been sitting so patiently. The foundation is not on the agenda tonight because it's sort of an abbreviated meeting 2 weeks after the previous. You're muted. Yeah, could you unmute yourself, Joan?
We're meeting on Thursday, so I
Thank
don't really have any updated information, but I was very interested in your updated statement. And where can I access that for the library, for the foundation to see?
Anne, could you send her the revised?
Which statement? Which one?
The one, the updated statement regarding Black Lives Matter, the political statement.
Sure.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah.
Because it's possible, because we wanted to integrate something like that into our booklet that we send out, the fundraising pamphlet. So we might, but with your permission, we would do it. So, but we'll discuss that on Thursday.
You don't need our permission. It's a public document.
Oh,
Public,
okay.
it'll be public, yeah. Yep.
Joan, are
Go ahead,
you
Anna.
looking for the draft or for the final document on letterhead?
No,
Or
it doesn't,
both?
because we would just borrow some of the statement to put
okay.
into our fundraising pamphlet, and that is mailed. So
Got it.
people who aren't online at all, and they still exist, would have a chance to see it in a paper form mailed to their home.
But it would be the LFN's own statement. It would not be a reprint of the trustee.
Well, we would maybe just, reference it.
Yeah, well,
and make note of a reference.
you're certainly welcome, you're certainly privileged to do any of that. It's a public record after it's been voted. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting the text from somebody soon, so you have it for your meeting.
All right, thank you.
All right.
I got the invitation to the and to the meeting, and I think Rick should get one too.
Yeah.
So
Did you get one?
No, I did not, and I need to because I'm taking your.
All right,
Tom, I'm going to be stepping down, so I have another meeting at 7:30. So
that's okay.
I'll get on at 7, and then Rick can take over for me.
Tom, can you forward it to Rick so I get his email address?
Okay.
I don't have an email address for Rick.
Okay, I will do that.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other trustee comments tonight? Well, then, thank you all very much.
One comment is,
go ahead.
People might be interested in knowing about Greg Shesko.
Yeah.
He's in home hospice, and he is not doing real well. And he's sleeping a lot. He's confused and all that. And the COVID-19 has been difficult. He's fallen a couple of times and had to been taken to the ambulance. So he's not doing well, but
it's funny, he called me out of the blue just about a week ago, though.
Did he? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, we had a very nice conversation.
Well, as Marilyn says, he has his lucid moments and other ones not as such.
Yeah.
He says sometimes she says he sleeps 20 hours a day.
Well, let's postpone this for a different moment to discuss after the, let's adjourn.
Okay.
Okay. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. We'll be meeting again mid-July. We'll be back on schedule.
Good night.
Thank you all very much.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.
Anne?
Yeah.
Or Dimitri, could you send me a copy of the
Recording. Yeah.
the Floyd thing?
Yeah.
Do you want me to put that on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, if someone can send me that too, that would be great.
So we'll send you.
Danielle, I will have it on a thumb drive for you tomorrow morning.
Excellent. Thank you, Gay.
And Greg and Jeff, one of us will send it to you.
Okay. Well, especially since I'm going to probably start working on the notes tomorrow morning. You know, it's it'd be nice to have this because there's a lot of like we changed this word, we did something else. So.
It's probably going to be a Google Drive document, Jeff, just because it's so large.
Okay, if you're going to save the recording, could I ask you to send it to Jeff tomorrow morning?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Or I mean, Gay actually.
Oh.
Yes.
Gay, you're saving the recording, right?
Yes,
well, I've been doing recording too.
It's saved to my laptop, and what I'm going to do is I will transfer it to a thumb drive for Danielle to load up.
Okay.
Okay. And will you send a copy of it to Jeff as well?
If Danielle can't send him the copy,
Oh,
I will
okay.
drop him off the thumb drive.
I'll make it happen.
Well,
Yeah,
I made a copy. I tried to make a copy of this, but last time I did that, I lost it. So you may have. So just wait till tomorrow, and I'll see whether it gets
Danielle will get you a link to it. Yeah.
I'll get you a link either on YouTube or by email.
Okay.
Somehow I will get it to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Danielle.
Good news about
Yeah.
the good
I'm
news
sorry?
about Greg is he's not in pain.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. But it's, you know, it's, he does apparently come and go with, you know, good days, bad days, and, you know, as you might expect.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's that. Yep. Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night.
Night.
All right.
Right.
Can't find my mouse. Oh.
And she's gone. Yay, team. Okay.
And I'm going now too, and hopefully it'll save.
Good. Bye, guys. I'm ending
Okay,
it
bye
off,
everybody. Bye,
everybody.
everybody.